you love me, therefore you make me happy. If someone's struggling as well in the dark, how the heck are they going to make you happy? Maybe you and I find kind of a relationship, a connection, because we're both struggling. But the problem is, if I put it to you this way, you cannot put an unenlightened being at the center of your being. And we all are unenlightened. We're all not walking in that, on the cloud nine kind of living life. As much as we're attracted to someone. And be wary what attracts us to someone. Because usually what attracts us, when you say, like there's a talk I give on relationships, right? And ask you, what do you want out of relationship? What do you want out of love, which is a form of happiness? People say, I want security, stability, safety, comfort. Why do you want safety, security, stability, and comfort? Because at some level, who's the one feeling insecure? You are. Who's feeling unstable? You are. Who's feeling uncomfortable? You are. So what we do is, we then seek someone wherein we will feel stable, secure, comfortable. But if you have those qualities already, you don't need it from another person. And that's what you and I need to recognize. And we then tap into the abundance that exists within us, where we completely, from a space of the infinite spectrum of awareness of the happiness that exists, and we've got to completely not just tap into it and dig a small hole and find it. We've got to open up into the vast, infinite space that there is of the happiness, joy, and love that we seek. The best person to find love from is you give the love to others, and therefore it opens up that infinite reservoir, the mind, the infinite mind that exists within you. When I say mind, I mean M-I-N-E rather than M-I-N-D, because the mind, as beautiful as it is, as much as you get your joy, and much as you feel happy, wow, I am great because of this, all you're doing is building your ego. Recognize, as much as your mind has taken you places, got you degrees, got you some profit, got you some fortune, got you the love of your life because she loves your mind or he loves your mind, it also represents your limitations. It also represents your boundaries. It also represents what you feel safe about and unsafe about. It also shows you, because the moment you step out of your mind, you're stepping into a space of fear. Because beyond the mind exists fear. Like a child at home, outside the house there's fear. You and I live in our minds because out there is fearful. But you have to, yes, face up to that fear. And part of the fear is the fear of what others will say to you. And thereby set yourself free. Because you fear, because there's darkness beyond the mind. We have no clue what exists. But step out and you'll see the light. At some point when Columbus was going with those 4 ships or so across the ocean, those sailors with him were prepared to rebel. Why? Because there was some point they couldn't see Europe and they couldn't see the States. There was just ocean all around. It's probably damn scary. There was no maps. Oops, we're going to hit the Americas soon. He thought he was going to India, man. He didn't even know he was going to go to another country. Right? You know that. He was completely clueless. Let's face it, completely clueless, completely uncertain. It was completely unsafe. And sometimes, whoops, we've lost a ship. There was a storm. Where's that 4th ship? There was 1 or 2 ships lost along the way. Completely uncertain territory. And they opened up a world beyond their complete imagination. There were people there they had never seen in their lives. It wasn't all wow, but it was different. It was, the mind completely got boggled in what it saw. And not just them. I've read about where the people on the lands of America witnessing these ships, how did they fathom these ships? Because the ships, all they had been used to was canoes, and yes, this huge ship on the ocean just completely overwhelmed you. It's beyond what your logic and rationality suggests. As much as it may have been good for the Europeans, it wasn't necessarily good for them, because they conquered the lands and all those kind of things we hear. But yes, it is interesting. You have to step beyond your mind. In this day and age, we don't have physical land to explore. Maybe if you want, you can go to the Antarctic and try some explorations. But people have crossed it from one side to the other and done all the firsts that the explorers have done. There's not much physically to conquer, but mentally and emotionally there's an infinite world to conquer. And therein lies the happiness. Because this day and age is not about getting a chocolate and wow, my taste buds are on fire. This is the most amazing thing. As much as it's one sense or one seeing something new, you are not just one sensory stimulation, you are the entire mind, and you have to go beyond what the mind knows to find the happiness. Because in the exploration, you'll find good and bad, right and the wrong, the happiness and sadness. But that's what keeps you fulfilled, because therein comes purpose. Because purpose means you're prepared to embrace what's good and bad, right and wrong, happy and sad. Mandela lived a life of purpose. You agree? Right? Hey, if someone had said prior to him doing what he was doing, you sure you want to lead a life purpose? You're going to be 27 years in jail. You won't see your wife or touch her for the next 27 years. I'm not sure many of us would want that. Why did he embark on that path? Because it shifted the energy level of the entire country. In fact, maybe some would argue the entire world. There's a man who was in jail with him called Isu Chiba. And Isu Chiba describes having just gotten married prior to going to jail. And his wife was from India. She could not speak English. And as would be the case, she had come to South Africa and he was incarcerated. And when he was incarcerated and put on the island, she could come visit as per the rules and regulations once in a while. And one of the rules was you could not speak in any other language except English and Afrikaans. She didn't know a word of English, forget Afrikaans. Okay? He would describe sitting, facing her, tears flowing, and not being able to communicate. And he decided that he will, once he gets free, he will obviously seek revenge. You might say it's obvious. You asked about how to react, because that was his reaction. He was building his mind up every day, seeing this woman and not being able to communicate with her. And he builds up such anger, hostility towards his jailers. And what was interesting, he describes Mandela hearing about this, what he was going through. And at some point, he and Mandela chat in jail. And Mandela asks him, why are we here in jail? He said, and Isu Chiba describes it's for liberty and equality. And Mandela says to him, if we decide to react in revenge towards those who've incarcerated us, there will not be any liberty or equality. In order to demonstrate freedom and equality, we need to behave in a manner which is free and equal. To the point that when we leave jail, and those who have done these nasty deeds towards us, we must even reassure their families that we will treat them with equality. So in your pursuit of purpose, you will have to address the full extent of human behavior and the full extent of who you are. Your mind will keep you comfortable, but your spirit has been built to engage in purpose, to go to a place where you are only driven by faith sometimes, because logically and rationally, back in the 70s for Mandela, for Martin Luther King, for all these people that kind of endeavored to something that was illogical and irrational at the time, they had to rely on words like faith, hope, conviction, optimism, perseverance and resilience. That's where you are living on the cutting edge of who you are. When we seek happiness, you also create sadness. And therefore, maybe a better word is, as you were asking, is purpose or fulfillment. That then you have used up this body, this mind, to the fullest extent of who you are. Then you are really living completely who you are, in all its bad and all its good. And some situations, there's even a book written about it, called called the difficulty of being good. May demand where you be, where society will judge you as being wrong, nasty, bad. Yet you do, because you know you are being authentic to the truth of what you are doing. At some point, Mandela was described as a terrorist. Okay? Goes with the territory, because he had complete faith that what he was doing, and we believe it today, that he had to achieve freedom and equality. And you will be judged, because those in power and that let's say those in power within that society will decide to use their power and position to judge you negatively, as we experience every day. Why? It's for their vested interest of maintaining their comfort zone at the expense of you being uncomfortable. And that's the challenge, and that makes you a true leader. And the other thing you have to do along the lines of that is you put everyone else first. You give rather than what you get. And recognize as well that the universe will reward you more than you will know. When you are in line and authentic with what the universe demands of us, but we kind of block it, it's amazing what it delivers. It will be beyond, because you have approached life at an illogical, irrational, fate-driven, it will be illogical and irrational. And I'm not just saying that, it reminds me of what Amit Kathrada, the man in the cell next door to Mandela, said. He says, we were always optimistic we will be free, but we never expected that the man in the cell next door to me would one day become president and I will be sitting in his office. It was completely illogical and irrational. Yet what they did was illogical and irrational. Fighting for freedom, a purpose, and the deliverance was illogical and irrational, beyond anyone's wildest comprehension. But that shows how authentic they were to what they believed in. They went to a deeper space of authenticity. How aware they were of themselves. Because Mandela even says, see, I'm not just all good. When they made the movie about him, he says, also show the bad. How aligned they were with the universe wanting, because all of us in this country sitting here are sitting in this position because of what he achieved. And more important, they were assertive in doing what they had to do. They had faith, hope, and conviction. And that allows us to achieve a purpose, a fulfillment. And in that, happiness then becomes a byproduct, because you know you live completely. You know you've lived true to who you needed to be on this planet. You did what you could within the framework of this body and mind. And that way we are then living purposefully.